Do you believe some people deserve to die? In a number of cases, the court has accepted the use of deadly force in order to protect lives, but it is a dilemma for sure. Today's case is a tragic story about a woman who had to suffer under her monstrous father for most of her life until she decided that she had had enough. This case made headlines across the nation and is still remembered as one of the most famous crime cases in Korea. Without further ado, let's dive into today's story, the case of Kim Bo-eun. On January 17, 1992, a police station at Chungju City in North Chungcheong Province received an urgent call from a woman that a robber had broken into her house. The robber had already fled when the police arrived at the house. Police entered the messy room and found a man's body lying on the bed. He was only wearing underwear and had knife wounds all over his body. It was apparent that he had been stabbed to death by the intruder. The woman who called the police was his daughter, Kim Bo-eun. She looked frightened and nervous, but she didn't seem too shocked by her father's death and explained the situation in a relatively calm manner. Detectives and paramedics arrived at the robbery murder scene and confirmed the father's death. Detectives started to investigate the crime scene to collect evidence. But as they looked closer at the house, they became more confused as the clues indicated that this was not simply a robbery murder. Firstly, the burglar killed the father and stole all the money and valuables in the house, but left the daughter unharmed. Also, the robber entered the house at night, but there were no signs of an outsider having broken in. In the case of the dead father, he was lying on his back without showing signs of resistance, which was strange to the police. Normally, robbers aim to steal money, but in this case, the father seemed to be the target, as he was fatally stabbed multiple times. Police found fingerprints at the crime scene that were confirmed to belong to a 21-year-old man named Kim Jin-kwan. Interestingly, Kim attended the same university as the victim's daughter, who had originally called the police. 2 days after the incident, police arrested Kim and took him to the victim's daughter, Bo-eun, to check if she knew him. When she saw the man, she collapsed and started crying. In tears, she confessed to the police that it was her. She killed her father. She was also arrested soon after. What happened? Let's take a look at her side of the story. Bo-eun spent most of her time at home and didn't go out much when she was young. But as she went to college, her life became much more exciting as she loved campus life and fell in love with Kim Jin-kwan, who showed her that life can be happy and warm. However, Bo-eun felt that the darkness inside her was pressing in more and more as their relationship deepened. One day, she eventually opened up about her darkest secrets to Jin-kwan. She cried, saying that she was unworthy of being with a man like him. The story she told him was shocking, to say the very least. When she turned 7, her mother married a man named Kim Young-ho. They lived a happy life for the first 2 years together, but when she turned 9, Kim Young-ho started touching her when her mother was not at home. He then violated her whenever he got the chance. One day, Bo-eun's mother saw what he was doing to her daughter. She was too scared to confront him as he was a violent man. After that incident, he got bolder, and he did the act on Bo-eun whenever he wanted, even in front of his wife. There were times when he violated both of them simultaneously. Bo-eun testified that after she turned 12, he took advantage of her almost every day, even during her period and while she was in the shower. He often showed her obscene and sadistic videos and forced her to demonstrate the act. When she tried to call the police, he threatened her with a knife and rat poison, saying that if she told anyone what was going on, he would kill her. So, she had to endure hell for 12 years. Kim Young-woo was a high-ranking official at the prosecutor's office with great power back then. Both mother and daughter were terrified that he would kill them and get away with it. When Bo-eun told him her story, Jin-kwan held her in his arms and said it was okay. To keep her away from her father, Jin-kwan decided to meet her father and tell him that they were in a serious relationship. But he was threatened by Kim Young-woo, who said he would kill both if they didn't stop seeing each other. Jin-kwan persuaded her to report it to the police. She told him that she had done it before, but police officers would come to the house only to bow to her father, who was a powerful man. It was not uncommon for people working at the prosecutor's office to wield such power in the early 1990s. They felt no one could help them. So they came up with a plan to kill him, disguise it as robbery, and find freedom. However, they failed, as the couple was arrested. Upon discovering the truth behind the case, this case attracted the attention of the entire country. Student volunteers and civic groups formed a special committee, and 22 pro bono attorneys volunteered to represent the couple. To protect victims as well as punish perpetrators more harshly for sexual violence, they urged the introduction of a special law. The trial began, and the couple's side of lawyers argued that Kim Bo-eun was unable to protest or resist her father's horrific actions, as she was constantly threatened by him, who made her believe that there was no one to help her out of it. The team argued that Jin-kwan was not guilty of murder because he acted in self-defense to protect Bo-eun's life. However, the court did not accept the self-defense argument. The couple's legal team then claimed that Bo-eun was in a mentally weak state due to PTSD, but this claim was also dismissed. On April 4, 1992, the first trial found the couple guilty of murder. Kim Jin-kwan was sentenced to 7 years in prison, and Kim Bo-eun was sentenced to 5 years. They appealed, and Jin-kwan's sentence was reduced to 5 years, and Bo-eun's sentence was put on probation for 5 years. In 1993, the Kim Young-sam administration granted a special pardon to Bo-eun, and Jin-kwan's sentence was also reduced by half. He was released from prison on February 17, 1995. The case has reignited calls for a special law to protect sexual violence victims, following a similar case in 1991 involving an assault victim named Kim Bu-nam, who killed her childhood abuser. As a result, the Korean government enacted the Act on the Punishment of Sexual Crimes and Protection of Victims in January 1994 to strengthen punishment against sexual violence. The Act contains articles on the punishment and investigation of crimes, as well as articles pertaining to the protection of victims. These include preventive education and the establishment and operation of counseling centers and shelters. While Korean society is making progress towards harsher punishment for child abuse, it remains a long way off. In 2010, a 42-year-old man was sentenced to 10 years in prison for habitually molesting his 15-year-old daughter and making her pregnant. Due to the fact that it was his first conviction and he had tried his best to support his family after his divorce, the court reduced his sentence to 7 years. There is no doubt that child abuse, particularly by a family member, is a traumatizing experience that has long-term effects throughout the victim's life, and punishments should be measured accordingly. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.